Hello everyone, it is Chelsea with the Mount Holly Branch Library, and it is time for another How to Tech video. And today we're going to talk about building a resume, some tips and tricks for resumes, and how to do that. We are going to be using the Microsoft Word program. So as you can see, I am using a MacBook for this tutorial. So if you have Microsoft Word on Windows or a Chromebook, it should still look very similar. Different versions will alter how it looks. So if yours doesn't look exactly like this, it's okay. They should still have templates and there should still be different ways to create a resume. So we're just going to go over those. So as soon as you open it, this is going to be the screen that's going to pop up. You have a blank document right here, and that's just going to open up a clean blank document for anything that you want to type or enter in. If you need to take a tour, if you're not very familiar with Microsoft Word, you can use this to take a tour. And there's going to be different templates all around here. So today we're going to be talking about resumes, and as you can see, they already have resumes created. All you do is just fill in your information. So I'm going to show you a few different styles that they have. So this is going to be one of them. So you have your experience first, your education second, and any volunteer experience or leadership skills. And we're going to talk about why it is important that these are placed in certain areas, because if you look here, this one says experience is listed first, but then on another one that I'm about to show, it's going to show education listed first. So we're going to go over which one should you use and why you should use it that way. So that's how this one looks. So this is more of a basic design. You're just going to type in your first name and then your last name. So I'll shift letter C for my first name. And now my first name is in there, and then I can hit the enter button, which is going to go straight into the next line and type in my last name. Oops, if I can spell it correctly. There we go. So then, of course, you have a place for your address, your phone, your email, and then it's going to take you into the different sections of your resume. Now another design, if I can find it, will be this one right here. So you'll notice the other one was sort of red and had a lot more color in it. But in this one you have experience, education, and then you have your contact information over here. So let's go back to the basic one and just sort of go through that style first, just so we can get an idea of the different sections and why they are important and what they mean. So your first section is going to be your contact information, like I've said. So your name, your phone number. So you definitely want to use a phone number that you can be reached on, and a professional email address. So if you do not have an email address, if you go into Gmail, that's one of the most common ones. You can of course use Yahoo or another version, but Gmail is definitely most common. And if you go in there and create one, a professional Gmail address would look something more just like your first name and then your last name, and then of course at gmail.com. When you're typing this on here, it gives the look that you are more professional. Now here's a place right here, as you can see, for address. Instead of putting address, if you don't want to put in your personal address, you can always put in if you have a website or a social media account such as LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a social media account for the professional side of your life. So once you put in your professional information as far as your past work experience into LinkedIn, it'll match you up with other companies, and that's really nice to look at for a recruiter or someone who is hiring for a position. So again, you do not have to put in your personal home address, as long as you put in maybe your LinkedIn account. If you have a website, that could be another thing that you put in there. So let's go ahead and skip to section 2. So section 2 is debatable as far as what it could be. So for some people, it is better to go ahead and jump and list your work experience. For others, it's better to list education. So which one are you, and how can you tell? So section 2 with work experience, this is if you are trying to obtain a job and you've had a lot of past work experience, especially within this job field. So you're going to list your work experience that's most relevant to the job that you're applying for now. However, if you are a recent grad student and you've just earned your certificate or your degree and you're just trying to get that a job in the field, and this is the first type of job that you've had in this field, then definitely list your education first, but make sure that you list any internships that you may have completed while trying to obtain one of these jobs. And then a lot of other questions that I get asked is, as a student, should you put your GPA on your resume? And it says even here, you might want to include your GPA. A good rule of thumb is if your GPA is 3.2 or higher, then include it, because then it looks more of like an achievement, an accomplishment. And so any other awards or honors that you've earned at your time at school, you would include here in your education. So again, if you are a recent grad student trying to get a job in a field, and this is the first time that you would have gotten a job in this particular field, education first. If you've had a lot of jobs in the recent past, then you're going to want to put in your most relevant jobs recently for this position that you're applying for in the experience section. And that would be your section 2. And of course, you're going to put in where did you work, what your job title was, and the dates of employment. So, and I've seen a lot of people in the past put in underneath their job duties. I'm going to say not to put your job duties. So put in things that were accomplishments for you. So instead of putting things like your job duties, such as you were responsible for planning a training program, you could say you planned a training program and you had over 220 participants for this new job fair or something along those lines that pertain to the job that you've had. So any type of numbers, percentages, prices, things that correlate along with that accomplishment definitely looks a lot better. And another side tip is the first half of your resume is the most important half, because that is going to be where the focus is going to get the most attention. When a recruiter or an employer gets the resume in their hands, your resume has about 6 seconds of their attention because it is one of hundreds. So the design, the layout, the grammar, the spelling, all of that is crucial because it's all going to be shown within that first 6 seconds. So let's go ahead and skip to Section 3. So again, Section 2 was either work or education. Section 3 will be the other one that you didn't put for Section 2. So if you put Section 2, work experience, Section 3 would be education, or vice versa. So Section 4 is going to be your skill, which they have up here. I'm not, again, 100% why this basic layout has the skill summary starting way up top. I would put that more towards maybe Section 4 down here at the bottom after experience. So the skill section is also a topic of, do I need it? Is it relevant? Is it important to have? It depends on what you're applying for. Do your skills correlate with the job you're applying for? If not, then don't list it. If it does, then absolutely list it. So if you are applying for a technology position to be a web designer and you have skills in different programs that help you design web pages, that's definitely something you should list. I will say that listing soft skills, such as listing things like I'm a hard worker, or I'm a great communicator, they don't look as great as actually listing specific things. So Section 5, you're going to be looking towards any awards or acknowledgments, things like that. So if you've done any leadership, you've gotten honors for a certain specific achievement that you've done, if you've received any scholarships, listing those here proves that you can work hard and you have a hard work ethic and you're a great communicator and you're a great leader. So you don't have to use that in your Section 4 skills as a soft skill because you have the proof of that listed here over in your awards or acknowledgments. So let's look at the design options. Again, if you are just starting off making this resume, if you're not very familiar with it, I would definitely go with a template because it sort of just tells you step by step what you need to put in, which is very helpful. So let's go back like to this one. So again, it's going to have your experience here. All you do is just click on this and you erase it and then put in your job title slash and what company it is, the dates from and to. So let's say you want to create your own resume and you want to do it on a completely blank document. You don't like the way that those layouts look, or you're pretty confident in how you want to style it. You also have that option. You just click on File, New Document, and it's going to open up a brand new clean slate document. Now we can make this one a bit bigger so it takes up our whole screen so we can have a better visual of it. All right, so if you'll look up here, these are going to be your ribbons. So you have a Home tab, Insert, Draw, Design, Layout, References, Mailing, Review, View, and then of course a Tell Me. So if you're not sure how to do something, like you want to insert a table or you want to change the font color and you can't remember how to do it, or you're not sure of how to do it, you can type that in right here on this little search bar, hit enter, and it's going to tell you how, or it's going to automatically do it for you, which is a really nice helping technique. So what you're going to do is go ahead and start typing out everything that you want to type out. So for example, I want to type in my name because this is going to be my resume, and again, I still can't spell my name. And I'm going to type in my telephone number and my address. All right, so there we go. So one tip is, again, when we talk about that 6 seconds of attention, you definitely want this to stand out. You want your layout to stand out. So design is very important, and it can take a little bit of time, especially if you're designing it from scratch instead of using a template. But two things that I want to point out that make really great visuals is, so I'm just going to change the font to Times New Roman. And to do that, you can place your cursor over your words. You can hold down your left side of the cursor and just move your mouse up until you highlight all. And then you'll go up here to where your fonts are listed. You'll click on this little tiny down arrow, and it's going to list all of the fonts that you have available. So I just changed mine to Times New Roman, and I will say this font, along with Arial, are the two most common fonts. So if you were looking for a font that stands out, I probably would try a different font, but you do not want to go too extreme and try something that's going to stand out in not the best way. So if I was looking for someone to hire and I was going through different resumes, this is probably not the font that I'm going to use. It's hard to read, it's difficult. So choose a nice clear font and make sure that you can read it, that it comes through okay, and just keep in mind you can of course use Times New Roman and Arial, but again, those are the two most common used. Another thing for changing your font would be to bold. So if you highlight again, I can highlight my first and last name by just clicking on the left side of my cursor and then dragging it over. If I click on this B, I will bold my name. If I click on the U, I can underline my name. I don't want to underline mine, but that's how you can do that. And if you click on the I, it will slant your letters. So I can also change the font. So if you go over here to where the A is and there's a little red bar underneath, you may have a different color bar underneath yours, but mine is red. I can change my font to purple. Again, you don't want to go too out there with this, but if you want to stick onto a certain theme or color scheme, you can definitely do it that way. So let's say I want to make my name bigger. So while it's still highlighted, I'm going to click on this really big A. You'll notice there's a big A and a very small A, and I can make mine bigger. Now let's say I wanted my name and my contact information to have the center of attention. I want it to be right here in the center of the page. While still on my Home tab, I'm going to go over here to this section, and you'll notice these lines right here. This one is all lined to the left, this one's lined to the right, and this one is lined in the center. So if I click that, my name is immediately going to jump to the center of the page, along with everything else that I've highlighted. And if I hit enter to go to the next line, it's going to stay in the center unless I go back over here. So the other thing that I was going to talk about as far as the layout and what is a nice visual are bulleted lists. So if I type in my job experience, and I want to list my jobs, instead of listing job 1, job 2, job 3, and then writing a whole bunch of stuff after that, I can have them in bullet style form. So if I highlight them again, you'll go up here to where you were trying to center your font. If you just go above that, you'll see these 3 little dots and these 3 lines. I can click this down arrow and it's going to expand that out, and I can choose a different bullet. Now I can go to this and it'll pull up a lot more different ones, like little small arrows or different shapes. But because this is a resume and I am trying to keep it professional, we're just going to go with the regular round bullets. And then that's going to bullet those out and give that a much more nicer visual. And with these bullets, it will break up important information. So whoever is looking at this within that 6 seconds, their eyes will be targeted to a certain part of my resume. So another thing that you can include in your resume is an objective. So normally this is a 1 or 2 sentence of why you think you are the best fit for this job. What is it that you're looking for out of a job like this? And some people will put that above their second section, so either their work or their education section. I, however, prefer to use that in a cover letter. I think having a cover letter looks really nice and it gives your resume a very polished look. To me, it says that you've taken more time and you've put a little bit more effort into it when you have a cover letter. So again, they have templates for this. This is the basic cover letter. So you'll have, again, your name, your contact information, the date, who are you sending this letter to. So make sure that you do your research. I have seen resumes where it's been dear hiring manager or dear hiring recruiter. If their name is available maybe on the website or you know of it, I definitely would try to make it a little bit more personal by putting that name on there. And then of course you have the company. You can put in the street address, the city, and the zip code. And so you're just going to go ahead and just type in a very small paragraph. If you do a cover letter, instead of doing 1 to 2 sentences, you can do maybe 2 to 4. And then you'll sign it with your name, and that will go along with your resume. Another thing is your resume is pretty much an advertisement of yourself. So it is really to get you into the door to get an interview. And then you can impress them farther with your interview. And after that, another good rule of thumb is to send maybe a thank you note to whoever did your interview. By sending a thank you note, this says that you're taking that extra step and you're showing that extra little bit of effort. Now let's say you've done all these steps and you don't get the job. You went through the interview, you've sent your thank you note, and you don't get a call back. That is okay. It is going to happen. One thing that I learned very young that does look very well is if I didn't get the position or the job, I would actually call them and ask, was there something in the interview or my resume that made them decide against hiring me? This is an educational tool. By doing this, you'll know what not to do the next time. So again, that is completely up to you. It's just a trick that I learned a long time ago, and it made me stand out in their eyes. So the next time that they hire someone, and if I decide to apply again, that could be something that they remembered me by, that I took the time to not only do these following steps of doing a cover letter, to do a resume, to come into the interview, to send a thank you note, but I also called to see what could I do better next time. All right, everyone, that is all I have for today. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we will see you next time. Thanks.